My wedding planner called me a bridezilla behind my back, so I served at her wedding. I'd hired Carmen as my wedding planner after seeing her perfect 5-star reviews online. She had this tiny boutique office with fresh flowers everywhere, and always wore these expensive suits that probably cost more than my monthly rent. During our first meeting, she smiled constantly and promised to make my wedding dreams come true. I should have noticed how her smile never reached her eyes, but the truth came out 3 months into planning. I was at my favorite coffee shop when I overheard 2 women at the next table talking about weddings. One of them mentioned working with Carmen, and my ears perked up. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. Carmen told me about this complete bridezilla she's working with right now. Apparently, she cries at every meeting and her budget is pathetic. The woman went on describing details that were unmistakably about me: my pink and gold color scheme, my venue choice, even the story about how I teared up when we found the perfect centerpieces within budget. Carmen had apparently told multiple people I was her worst client ever and called me Trailer Park Barbie trying to play princess. I stayed frozen in my seat while they laughed about how Carmen had to manage me. The friend asked if Carmen always talked about clients like this. The woman said, "Oh yeah, Carmen entertained everyone at industry events with her client horror stories. She even had nicknames for us." That night, I called my cousin Mara, who worked in catering. She confirmed what I'd suspected. Carmen was notorious for trash-talking clients to anyone who'd listen: vendors, other planners, random people at networking events. Mara had personally heard her call me pathetically cheap at a venue showcase. 6 months later, my wedding was over. It had been beautiful, despite Carmen's obvious disdain for my choices. I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw it. Carmen had gotten engaged and was planning her own wedding at Rosewood Manor, the same venue where Mara worked. I called Mara immediately. She told me Carmen was being an absolute nightmare to work with, making the staff redo table settings multiple times and screaming about every little detail. They needed extra servers for the wedding because 2 had already quit rather than deal with her. That's when Mara suggested something that made me smile for the first time in months. They were hiring temporary servers for the event. Would I be interested in working it? 3 weeks later, I was dressed in the catering uniform, standing in Rosewood Manor's kitchen. Carmen walked right past me during her final walkthrough without a second glance. She was too busy yelling at the florist about the roses being too pink to notice the server arranging glasses. The wedding day was everything I'd hoped for. Carmen treated everyone like garbage from the moment she arrived. She made her makeup artist redo her face twice. She screamed at her maid of honor for laughing too loud. She even snapped at her elderly grandmother for sitting in the wrong chair. I was assigned to serve the head table. Perfect. During cocktail hour, Carmen held court with her bridesmaids, telling them stories about her nightmare clients. I heard my wedding mentioned specifically. She called my dress choice tragic and said she'd been embarrassed to be associated with such a tacky event. The reception started beautifully. Then during the father-daughter dance, I was refilling champagne glasses. Carmen's train was spread out perfectly behind her as she swayed with her dad. I moved around them carefully with my tray. Then somehow my foot caught the edge of her train just as she turned. I heard the distinct sound of fabric ripping. Carmen's face went from confused to horrified as she felt her dress separate. The entire back seam had split from the weight of the train pulling. She stood there in front of 200 guests with her shapewear completely exposed. The music stopped. Everyone stared, but it got worse. As she tried to run off the dance floor holding her dress together, she knocked into the cake table. The 5-tier monstrosity wobbled once, then crashed to the ground. Frosting and fondant exploded everywhere. Her grandmother got hit with a flying sugar flower. I disappeared into the kitchen while chaos erupted. Carmen was sobbing hysterically while her new husband tried to pin her dress together with safety pins from the bridal emergency kit. The photographer was frantically trying to salvage something from the disaster. Later, while cleaning up, I heard Carmen's mom ask her sister if karma was real. The sister replied that Carmen had probably insulted enough brides to deserve this. Even her own family knew what kind of person she was. I never told anyone except Mara what really happened. Sometimes the universe doesn't need help delivering justice, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to give it a little push.